We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Life as a Chad YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here, wherever you may be, and of course, however you may be listening. I have an absolute controversial video today. It's definitely going to be controversial. I thought about dropping a different video, not as high quality, part of my car ride rant series. It's just easier for me to do that because I'm always on the go and it's easier a lot of times. And I'm sure there's a lot of you who are this way too. You do a lot of your thinking on the move. And so there's a lot of times where, like, if I'm doing nothing, I'm doing nothing. And that time is really valuable because I don't have very much of it. And then, but I might have a video idea. I might come across something that derives some inspiration, but I don't really want to, in that moment, create a video or any content. And then I'm busy, I'm doing stuff. I come across things kind of in the background peripherally, and it's like, okay, let's talk about it. I'm pumped right now about talking about this. Let's go. But and a lot of times I'm in my car. I'm from going from here to here, here to here. So it's just the way it is. Hopefully, the camera wasn't too messed up there. I had to change my zoom setting, so hopefully it comes out okay. But there's this thing called mirror my video. I believe mirroring your video means mirroring the exact side that you're on, as opposed to it being opposite. But anyways, so that's why I do a lot of those videos. I know it's very hard to get the quality right. Doing videos in a car is tough because number one, it depends on the car you have. Is it super insulated? Is it a car that picks up a lot of external noise, bumps on the road, stuff like that? Does it have good wind protection? Is it good in the face of wind? And I don't think my car is the best for that. It's a perfectly good newish car, but it's just not the best for that. So I know it's not the best quality, but it's like fuck it. I want to talk about this. We're gonna put it out there. So I had a different video, and in that video, I also give thanks to the recent bevy of new subscribers. I appreciate all you guys being here. And I talk about it in that video, and I give thanks to the individual that kind of drove some traffic my way. And I'll leave it there. Like I said, I'm going to drop the other video alongside this one so you guys can check that out. It's about that video is titled, or going to be titled, it's something about modern women selling their farts to sad, lonely men, as crazy as that sounds. But for today's video, I really was questioning whether to make this video, but it is topical based on something that has recently come out. And if I didn't do it, it wouldn't be me. I've said many times that my channel, I don't want it to be about the subscribers. I know that's easier said than done. I want to discuss things that I care about, that I believe in, and give you my pure, unadulterated opinion on things. And so today we're going to talk about Andrew Tate. And I don't think I've actually talked about him too much on my channel, but there was a recent accusation that was put down the pipeline from an ex of his who also has a Bitcoin, or has a crypto coin. And I thought now would be a good time to talk about it. I think I'm going to play a little bit of Myron Gaines' take in the background because I know, Andrew has been on Myron's channel. I think Myron has some crossover fans, and I like Myron Gaines myself. The guy does appear to live by what he preaches, although that's not the end all be all, as Andrew Wilson commonly says. You can advocate for something while simultaneously not doing what you're advocating for, and it doesn't detract from the viability or truth claim of said claim. So we might play that, but just right off the bat, I want to ask you guys to consider hitting that, smashing that subscribe button, like, comment. Y'all know the drill. Let me know what you guys think. If I'm off base, if you guys really don't like the guy, what I need to consider, so on and so on. And without further ado, let's get into this. And as far as the comments go, if for me, I try and read them all. If I think that they are respectful and are actually trying to make an argument rather than just like pointing out some trivial, benign bullshit, then I'll usually engage with it in good faith. In other words, if you're in good faith, I'll be in good faith, and I'm not some, female tone policer or anything like that. So I think my wideness for being good faith is pretty strong. So let me start here. I personally am an Orthodox Christian. I have been a Christian man my whole life. I've been a conservative man my whole life. Um, I haven't always lived that to a T. I've detailed in previous videos, I was heavily involved in sports. I played varsity basketball as a freshman in high school. Same with water polo. I ended up playing collegiate water polo. So, in other words, when I was younger than I am now, I was a jock and I hung out with a lot of people who were kind of a part of that crowd. And definitely the girls that came along with that. One of my good buddies ended up playing Division One football, two of my buddies actually had Division One full rides to prestigious Power Four level schools. And I did not have the most restraint. And I also think, I was kind of battling myself just as an individual growing up and figuring things out, what I believed, where I fit in the world. Because sometimes you may know something to be true and good versus not good, but you don't have the confidence to live that out of fear of not being accepted, out of missing out, and things like that. And I think a lot of young people experience that, and that's why it is important for younger, hipper people to come out and say, no, it's okay for you not to engage in that stuff, which I'll circle back to. But again, I am coming at this from that perspective. I am a Christian man. So, with that said, I don't believe that everything Andrew Tate has done is what I would deem as morally acceptable. I don't love the cam business. I do think that he was obviously profiting off of young men's insecurities, loneliness, and sadness, while also simultaneously, in a way, he has capitalized on that in another way. And he was probably more vehemently aware of this situation coming from the cam business, coming from the cam world, that there's a lot of men out there that are sad and truly alone, without very little prospect in this world. Now, that's a different video in and of itself, and I've done videos on that, and I'm sure I'll do more in the future because some of that, obviously, I do believe in the pull yourself up by your bootstraps, boomer mentality. I do believe that to be somewhat true, but people also need to be shown the way. They also need to be given the courage to take that step forward. Um, so I don't agree with that. I also don't agree with Andrew on kind of, on one hand, and again, well, let me backtrack. I'll just make this statement. I don't agree in how, on one hand, the red pill space, the manosphere space is constantly talking about female nature and the perils of female nature, especially in dealing with the modern feminist woman. Most of which I completely agree. If you've been a subscriber to my channel for a long time, you fucking know that I there's nobody who goes in on that shit harder than I do. I've called out e-thought after e-thought after e-thought. Most recently, I did a video talking about Girls Gone Bible and their bullshit. So I go in on that stuff hard. But part of the red pill space and part of the manosphere is, again, being equipped with that information to make the best decisions. Now I know, like, because I've seen this, I know Andrew Wilson has said that the red pill is nothing more than information. It's not a prescription. And that's true. And so I want to be fair to Andrew Tate in saying that it is, he can put that out there as pieces of information rather than putting out this prescription. Now, I would say, just kind of peripherally, I do think that Andrew Tate, because of his stardom and major success in being globally recognized, kind of has put forward a prescriptive lifestyle where it's very materialistic and very much, look at what I have here, look at this beautiful thing, look at this beautiful girl, look at how many people are around me. Most recently there was, I saw something on X where it's him, Myron Gain. I don't know if Myron is there. I know I saw Walter Weeks there, and they're all sitting around in the club with these girls, smoking hookah and shit like that. So, but again, it doesn't take away from the fact that by and large, the red pill is just that. It's information. But I do think Andrew Tate crosses the line at times where it becomes prescriptive. I mean, he does have his what's it called, the behind the scenes stuff where you can become a member and become wealthy. But I guess you could say that that's more monetary than it is lifestyle. And ultimately, the lifestyle is up to you. The biggest thing that I would say I disagree with him on would be the cam girl stuff. I don't think that that was the best look, obviously, very dangerous. And I also don't like that it came on the shoulders of lonely men. But in the end, those men made choices to give up their money and to engage in that bullshit. Um, but just to put a bow on the point about the red pill and prescriptive versus non-prescriptive, this is kind of what I've said about Walter Weeks. Like, Walter Weeks from Fresh and Fit is a part of a show that puts forward this information and puts forward these ideas. Yet, time and time again, we've seen Walter Weeks seemingly not utilizing this information. So it's not necessarily something that is like my biggest critique of Andrew Tate. It's more like an observation. It's like, come on, dude, like you should know better type of thing. But it's not full blown moral disposition like it is to the cam girl stuff. Now, with all of that said, Andrew Tate is one of a very select few of people, especially in on the right wing, that is making a dent in popular culture in the West. It really in the world, okay? And men have been struggling for so long and they continue to struggle that even with those things that I just said, Andrew Tate emerging by essentially saying that you don't need to be a subservient man. You don't need to be a beta man. You don't need to be this weak, pathetic, happy wife, happy life schmuck. And really giving men their confidence back to gain their masculinity, because at the core of feminism is this desire to, number one, tear down the nuclear family, but secondly, to tear down the patriarchy. I mean, I guess you could say one is before the other, but I'm not saying them in any particular order. But to tear down the patriarchy, well, what is the patriarchy? It's male leadership. And what is a part of male leadership? Masculinity, true masculinity. In a lot of, if you look at sex characteristics and gender roles, a lot of these traits can be good, both good and bad, when used in certain situations. I mean, that's just the fact of it. But again, you look at feminism and they are trying to tear down by labeling masculinity at every turn as toxic. And men have begun and have been for so long so down about themselves. And I've done a video on this in the past too, that they literally will amputate themselves by cutting off their ding dong because they view themselves being men so poorly and view being feminine, being a woman so highly that the only logical next step is for them to cut off their wing and to no longer be a man. But the problem is your essence is your essence, and I believe that as an Orthodox man, you're never going to be able to change your essence, your God given essence. Okay. And so again, for me, I believe in God's order: man, God above man, man above woman, women above children. And I think in the conservative space, there's a lot of people who, whether they know it or not, and Andrew Wilson does a great job of exposing these people, really have way more feminist leanings than they even realize. And fuck, even I have that, much less so than them, but you cannot have grown up in the West without having some feminist inclinations within you. You just can't. It is a part of Western society. And so Andrew Tate comes along and he puts forward this massive idea that no, it is okay for you to be a fucking man. It is okay for you to be masculine. It is okay for you to have masculine pursuits. It is okay for you to not pedestalize women. It is okay for you to be tough, to be strong, to fucking learn martial arts and get in the gym and strive for more, be ambitious, strive for greatness. And in the end, there's very few people in the right wing that has been more um, crucial in the hearts and minds of Western society than Andrew Tate. There are very few people who have made more of an impact than somebody like Andrew Tate. You know, I can name some names. You may not like all of them, but they are people. Maybe I'll stay away from that. But there's a lot of people who, or not a lot of people, there's a few people who I can think of that I would say, whether you love or hate them, have been extremely impactful and do make a dent. There's also some people, the Matt Walshes of the world, the Knowles of the world, that I would consider kind of people who, yes, they make an impact, but it's kind of this like low level simmering impact where they're kind of always a step behind or multiple steps behind. You know, they're not leading the charge. They're not um, the first in the race. They're not the first person there to really be the bull in the china shop and get things going and get things changing. Now, Andrew Tate, on the other hand, you can absolutely say that. Love him or hate him, you can absolutely say that. And so that stuff I can get behind. Again, do I agree with every single one of the things that he said or things that he has advocated for when it comes to stuff like this? Probably not. I mean, honestly, I would say I probably agree with more of that shit than I do your average feminist. And so I think there's a lot of people in the traditional conservative space that are partly um, jealous in some ways of the viability of somebody like Andrew Tate, and they wish that they could be as impactful of that. Um, and we all know that at times they have been advocates for him, but as soon as it's no longer feasible to do so, they're off the bandwagon. And no, he's not a part of our conservative right wing movement yet. They're okay with welcoming in somebody like Nala or some of these ethos. And again, it's like that is the feminist ideology that is so pervasive in the West, is that right there. It is absolutely that right there. And I will say, whether in the end you voted for Trump or not, I know I've had my critiques of Trump. I have always said that I think Trump is one of the greatest Americans ever. Um, and I think Trump, in a lot of ways, is what men should aspire to be as far as ambition and will and desire for achievement and to do more. Maybe not as materialistic, maybe not as void and empty as that is, but again, one thing at a time. We have the deficiencies of capitalism here in a materialistic society, and we also have feminism. I mean, take your pick. Yes, yes. In some ways, they lend themselves to one another, but still. And so, when it came to the election of Donald Trump, young men came out far more for Donald Trump than had been the case in previous elections. Do you think that that was because of Michael Knowles? Do you think that that was because of Ben Shapiro? Do you think that that was because of Matt Walsh? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there's some other names that I could put forward that have taken an interest in politics and masculinity because of those individuals. And no, the Matt Walshes, the Michael Knowles, the would not be it. So, but anyways, that's kind of my overview. Personally, I don't know enough about the accusations and the lawyerings and the lawings, the law stuff, the legalities of this. But I do tend to think that if there was a smoking gun, they would have already locked him away by now. Okay, because they had the opportunity to do so, especially with them living in a place like Romania. I don't think they would have been allowed, and I heard Myron Gaines say this, and I tend to agree. I don't think that they would have been able to travel to the United States if there was this major smoking gun, that they wouldn't even have been released from the Romanian prison system if that was the case. It doesn't mean that something can't come out down the line and there's some hidden evidence that we're not aware of. Um, because again, there's even stuff that Andrew Tate has said that has been between two consenting adults that I myself wouldn't do. I myself would not risk doing that. And I'm not saying I'm a shrewd or shrew or anything like that, or I don't know whatever you call somebody who's like super uptight about sex. But there's some stuff because of my red pill knowledge, because of my Christian knowledge of female nature, that especially if I was in a position like him, I would be very cautious against. Now, you can also say that you never know unless you're in that position what you would truly do. And I'm sure that's fair enough. But just speaking from where I'm at now, I would always be super paranoid about these things that I know to be the case. And I would not want to risk it, for the chance of some punani. Okay. I just probably would not do it. And like I said, even if it was consenting, I wouldn't risk it by doing it, and I sure as shit would not fucking videotape it. But I digress. Okay, I digress. So, there might be stuff that comes out down the line, but that's kind of what I tend to think. I'm not sure that they would be free right now if there was a major smoking gun. And even this new allegation that came out, I don't think it's a criminal case. I think it's a civil case. So, and again, because of all the women Andrew Tate has been involved with, there's a good chance there's going to be more of these down the line. Because once we've seen this time and time again in the West, once a man of power and authority, once there's one, there's usually, multiple others that come down the line. And sometimes what they're alleging does turn out to be true. But once they smell blood in the water, they go for it. And that's why I'm saying, like me, I know this. I don't think I would be willing to risk everything that I had obtained and worked hard for just for some punani. And because after a while, it's like once you've had one, you've had it all, and it's like it's not that different. But I do also understand some of the things that the red pill space says, which is, men have to work hard to gain access to the candy store. It's kind of easy for people, especially women, to dictate once men do get the access to the candy store, which women have had access to from day, as soon as they turn 18 legal age. Um, yeah. I was going to say, but it, it's easy for them to dictate when that's the case. Privilege is invisible to those that have it. No, I don't mean in the common colloquial of the racial lens of white people having privilege that's invisible to them. So I do just want to acknowledge all those things before we check out a little bit of Myron's video. And, just again, I don't think that anybody has had the impact on young men the same way that Andrew Tate and his brother has. I mean, they just have not. I don't think that young men, because young men certainly would not have been interested in politics. You think young men are interested now in politics because of Ben Shapiro? No, I mean maybe you could find some outliers, but by and large, no, that's not the case. And I even think that I saw a recent discussion. I might react to this soon. Andrew Wilson's discussion with fuck, what's her name? Oh my gosh, Lavloon, where he says no, they're not making those guys are not making this massive impact that some other individuals are, and for what it's worth, I think Andrew Wilson is either there or approaching being somebody like that is making an impact, because young men are struggling. They're lonely. And Andrew Tate and his brother were guys that appeared to kind of have success with women. And this was something that young men who maybe naturally wouldn't have this proclivity to get women and have success with women and therefore have some confidence and stuff, that they kind of showed them the way. They provided some confidence to gain the skills to get the confidence to even go for it. You're not seeing this with Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro. Now, again, I and I've done videos on this in the past as well, and this is something that I struggle with. All things being equal, I agree that the nuclear family is the best way to do it. I believe in monogamy. I believe in what God has ordained to be the case. But at the same time, it's hard for me, especially with my personal experiences, not that I've ever been married or divorced, but just what I have seen with people close to me, the red pill knowledge that I have gained, the wisdom that I've gained, it's hard for me not to see the shortcomings when it comes to the dating market, the law system that we have in place that currently favors women. So, all right, guys. Without further ado, that's enough of kind of my take on it, just kind of from a 3,000 foot view on the matter. Let's go ahead and see what Myron has to say on the subject. Just one more thing before we start watching the video. Like, the people that I named, the Ben Shapiro's, the Matt Walsh's, the Michael Knowles, like especially Ben Shapiro, they've been wrong on a lot of issues. They have not been at the forefront of some of these issues. They've kind of had some NPC takes. Now, maybe not Matt Walsh, maybe not always Michael Knowles. I'm more speaking on Ben Shapiro when it comes to that, not to be confused with Shapiro. But so I think it just goes to show, like, in the Con Inc. sphere, you do have as much of a recency bias, and you have a lot of people that are faux believers in their belief system that are kind of just advocating for it because it's hip. You especially see this with women. It's a current fad. It's a current popular sentiment to have, rather than really standing on principle and saying, no, this might not be the most popular thing for me to say right now, but fuck it, I'm gonna say it. I'm still gonna say it. In other words, they're kind of like Johnny come latelys that, when it benefits them, they're for or against something. And when it benefits them, they're no longer for or against something, and it's like they're pulling like Gavin Newsom after the 2024 election, after the fires in California. I don't know how many of you guys have seen Gavin Newsom's most recent slight changes, slight movement in his political ideology. I mean, it's not as pronounced as some people are trying to make it. Like, people on the left are trying to make it seem like it's a massive change that he's that's befalling him. It's not. I mean, it's by the slimmest of margins, but he is trying to make it appear that he is this more centrist, more open to the other side, as they're the side that's winning, sort of thing. So, anyways, without further ado, let's check out what Myron has to say on this. Let me get the sound on. I always forget to share the sound. Here we go. We're not going to watch too much of this because the video is already long enough, but we'll watch a little bit of what he has to say.
Filling her head, they're falling more upside. On the side of her face and on the top of her head. Really? Okay. Andrew's the gun, an ambulance/celebrity lawyer that sued Diddy
and apparently her name is Bree Stern. That's her name.
And represented a bunch of the women that are going after lawyer that sued Diddy and represented a bunch of the women that are going after celebrity men. Anyway, let's keep going. All kinds of red flags. Oh, 6. The lawyer she fucking hired. A notorious fucking ambulance/celebrity lawyer that sued Diddy and represented a bunch of the women that are going after celebrity men. Anyway, let's keep going. Let's not jump the gun yet. We'll get to all that. Okay? Andrew's ex says he continued choking her harder and harder, making her nearly lose consciousness, claiming he used one hand to choke her and used the other to beat her repeatedly on the side of her face and on the top of her head. Really? Okay. Andrew's like what? 6'2", 6'3", about 200 pounds? Professional fighter? If he beat her as she claims, I don't see anything here. I don't see anything. I don't know about you, Ninjas, but I don't see anything. Right? Yeah, she hired Tony Buzzaby, chronic celebrity clout-chasing lawyer in L.A. She also claims Andrew threatened her during the alleged assault, telling her if she ever crossed him, he was going to kill her. She says she sobbed and pleaded and protected herself as best she could until Andrew climaxed and the attack subsided. Interesting. So she didn't leave that night. She stayed. You guys catch on to that? She didn't leave. She stayed. Bree said she wanted to leave after the attack, but was too scared. And the following morning, she pretended like nothing happened so she could finally escape Andrew's hotel room, ultimately seeing a physician before reporting the attack to police. Oh, yeah, sure. She says Andrew manipulated and groomed her from the moment they met in Romania last summer when he booked her for modeling, filling her head with lies and love bombing her. Oh, yeah, so he manipulated her, and she flew all the way to Romania to see him. Okay, that makes sense. Here's some more text messages that she sends, right? Bree says Tate first came off as charming, but then showed his true colors when he started degrading and threatening her. She says he would call her his property, an idiot, and whore, and just a hole, probably, yeah. She also claims he would threaten her while assaulting her, telling her, if you ever fuck with me, I will fucking kill you. I mean it. I will kill you. Briva says Andrew threatened to sex traffic her, keep her in Romania, and grape her. As you know, Andrew and his brother Tristan were arrested back in 2022 for allegedly creating a criminal organization in Romania, and Andrew's been charged with rape in that country. They're also both facing sexual assault lawsuits in the U.S. and the U.K. They have not been convicted of any crimes. So I find it interesting that she says that all this shit was happening, yet she stayed. Right? And we're going to talk about that here in a second. And then she hired Texas attorney Tony Busby, who's representing over 100 alleged Diddy sexual assault victims, to represent her in this lawsuit filed in California. This guy is a notorious celebrity lawsuit chaser in L.A. And Joe McBride tells TMZ Tony Busby is a low-life bottom feeder. Jay-Z is suing him for extortion. We look forward to doing the same. Because as you guys know, he also represented a woman that came forward and said that Jay-Z assaulted her, which ended up not being true.
Yeah, I gotta say the pictures don't to me they don't seem as damning as she kind of portrays her expectation of people to think they are. That was kind of long-winded, but I mean, yeah, I mean, fuck, maybe she was crying, maybe she sprinkled some water on her eye or something. I mean, fuck, she could have went for a run, she could have been in the sauna, the steam room, she could have taken a shower, forgot to take off her makeup. I mean, but like the face, yeah, it's a little red, but I mean, I don't know. It's I'll just put it to you this way. It's not as damning as maybe what I would expect to see. I'm not saying that it can't be true. But what I am saying is I am highly skeptical of the picture that I saw.
Ended up being an entire lie. So this guy, Tony, has no problem whatsoever with making allegations to try to get $1. All right? Okay. So next we're going to go ahead and watch. We read this stupid letter of hers, the TMZ breaking news, and I wanted to read it from TMZ because they're the first ones to publish this, which made me the most suspicious. And then the more research I did on this girl, the more I realized, like, okay. All right, I'll read some chats real quick. St. Drew says, Aid Mubarak, Myron, thank you for doing what you do, brother. You're awakening the masses. I pray God keep blessing you. We'll watch it.
That's the one thing about checking in on a Myron Gaines show is you gotta shift through the super chats.
Okay, but the OBS isn't picking for. Okay.
Come on, bro.
Because you got a knife for this stuff. Just sending like $1 super chat. It says, are we gonna do this, chat? Systematically, which the article breaks out, right? TMZ article comes out first that she went to them, they got the exclusive, because I remember when this first dropped and you guys sent it to me, when you guys were like, yo, Martin, Tate just got new charges or whatever, or new accusations. I Googled it and I saw that TMZ was the only media outlet that had it. New York Post, fucking Wall Street Journal, Washington Journal, none of these big media companies had it yet, right? Fox News, CNN, nobody had it, only TMZ had it. That was the first red flag, right? Then we see that she prepares.
God, I got to get a new computer, right? Guys. My computer sucks.
That was another big red flag for me, right? Then she does only one interview, and she does it with NBC. Okay, so for someone that's a victim, it seems like she planned this out perfectly, going to the police and all this other stuff, like you guys are going to see here in an interview. But from a media perspective, this is like perfect. If your goal is to get a story out there and get it monetized, right? She went the best route. She prepared a statement. She went to TV first. They had the exclusive for hours before all the other organizations picked it up. And she went and followed up and did a regular interview after TMZ broke the story. Okay?
Yeah,
Now,
I agree with
for
that.
anyone that's in media, you guys already know
Maybe New York
if you're a
Post, you would go, maybe like some British stuff. I mean, I'm not super insightful about the best gossip columns, but yeah, I mean, everybody knows TMZ is among the most salacious entities out there. Now, it also there's a lot of shit that they put out there that does tend to be somewhat accurate, but I digress.
big story, TMZ is going to pay you a bag to get it first. This is why TMZ, if this is why I don't play TMZ videos
Bruh.
on my streams. TMZ are fucking, well, so they will copyright your shit immediately because they pay a lot of money to get these exclusives.
Yeah.
TMZ and Vlad are some of the worst niggas when it comes to playing their content on YouTube. They will fucking hit you with that copyright immediately. DJ Vlad and fucking TMZ. And in case you guys are wondering,
Good to know. Oh.
it's like, bro, like at this fucking point, it's like, goddamn. You know, that early live check always checks out. Fucking point, it's like, goddamn.
Hold on.
Bro, like at
He went to Cal Berkeley and he's from Kiev,
this
Ukraine.
fucking point, it's like, goddamn. You know,
He's
that
not
early live
lying,
check always
bruh.
checks
He's
out.
not lying.
But yes, DJ Vlad, TMZ, they will always copyright your shit. So when I saw that she went to TMZ, I knew they were paying her a bag. And then she went and did a regular interview after she gave that story to them. And she had a statement prepared. All of this reeks of fucking premeditation.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to stop it there. If you guys want to check out what Myron had to say on the topic, you guys can. Again, I don't think I said anything too outrageous. A lot of what I have to say is just kind of very broad. But I'll just say this, guys. I think it's valid to have your critiques of the cam girl business stuff from a religious standpoint. Uh, I think it's hard to be too overzealous in judgment about Andrew Tate's, and this is why I was kind of cautious about it, Andrew Tate's dealings with women. I can say that I wouldn't do it, and I probably would not recommend other men to do it, but that is coming from my Christian framework. And yes, I can still call it out and say no. I mean that is sinful. But I guess what I'm saying is, when it comes to Andrew specifically, the guy is Muslim. I think he flirted with Christian Orthodoxy for a little bit, but he is Muslim. He does not subscribe to this worldview. So it kind of is what it is. I don't think it's the smartest. But again, I think it's totally valid to call out Andrew Tate's cam girl business stuff. I know Kyle, a fellow ortho bro. By the way, guys, if you guys are new to the channel, he has an interview channel that I was one of his first interviews. So go and check that out. You can also see my reaction to it on my channel in some of my earlier videos. I think it was a year or two ago. It was right before I became an Orthodox Christian. Um, but I think in the end, there's the verdict is still out on whether Andrew Tate is guilty of all the salacious accusations that have been levied against him. I would err on the side of it not being accurate, given the fact that they're free right now. They were not. They're not still in prison. They were allowed to leave Romania. I think if they had a smoking gun, they probably wouldn't have been able to leave Romania, as there's a ton of political desire for them to be gone. But what this boils down to, guys, is number one, uh, isn't conservatism the ones a few years back, 5 years back, that would say that the believe all women 100% of the time, no matter what, was bullshit? Isn't it conservatives that said that it's innocent until proven guilty when it came to the Kavanaugh stuff and various other situations? Um, I've even heard a lot of them say that when it came to Russell Brand. I mean, this is not like an old thing. This is still something that's going on. But I see a lot of conservatives that kind of pick and choose when they want to apply that mindset. Um, and yes, that is something that conservatives put forward is no, we need to uphold these principles. And in the end, he has made a major impact and reached individuals that a lot of conservatives have simply failed to reach. And I do think that that is worth contemplation and worth consideration rather than rash judgment, harsh judgment immediately. Um, and yeah, I mean, I think that's where I stand on the matter. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. It's going to be very interesting to see. And again, lastly, I'm open to new information coming out. I'm open to other things. But here's the thing, guys. And even when it comes to calling out the left and feminists and things like that, what we need to understand is human beings are not perfect. We are sinful individuals. And as an Orthodox Christian, we merely believe that sin is moving away from God. And in the end, the goal is to get people to move closer to God and move in the direction of God. And so I do think a certain level of understanding and empathy is required. And I think it's also important for conservatives who purport to not be NPCs and not trust the media to ask yourself, am I being led by the media here, in my opinion, or should I look into the matter a little bit more myself? All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share. We checked out the Myron Gaines video, a little bit of his footage. You guys can go and check that out if you guys are interested in seeing what he has to say further. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow and factor our feelings because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, kings. See you guys next time. Christ is King. Peace.